Good evening. I trust you had a fruitful day. I do not say happy, though I hope it has been happy. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Buddha, the blessed, noble, and fully self-awakened one. Now, the way that Theravada Buddhism especially comes across in the West is a very sort of clean and clear-cut psychology. And of course, that's been translated into the mindfulness movement, mindfulness and stress reduction, mindfulness with chips. It's got it all down. So we get this feeling that it's all very scientific, all very basic, right? Grounded on ordinary human experience. But the scriptures are also full of marvelous and wondrous things. And this is what this discourse is called, wonderful and marvelous. And it's basically talking about the Buddha. So there's a group of monks, and they're all sitting together up in Savatthi, Jeta's Grove and Atipindika's Park. So that's a regular place that he's at. That's up in towards the north, remember, in another country. So what they're saying is that it's wonderful, friends. It's marvelous how mighty and powerful is the Tathagata. For he is able to know about the Buddhas of the past. He knows about their final liberation, how it came about, how they broke the cycle, ended the round, and surmounted all sufferings. He knows their names, their clans, their virtue, their state of concentration, their wisdom, and so on, you see. There are 28 past Buddhas before the Buddha, but we'll come to that maybe at another time. What happens now, though, is that Venerable Nanda says, yes, the Buddha has marvelous and amazing qualities. Then the Blessed One does actually arrive. He's got up from his meditation, and he takes a seat and he says, what were you discussing just now? And they say, oh, well, we were discussing, and Ananda replies, well, we're discussing how wonderful and marvelous you are. And the Buddha agrees, you see. And so when this was said, Venerable Sir, the Venerable Ananda said to us, friends, the Tathagata is wonderful and marvelous. So the Buddha then addresses Ananda and says, that being so, Ananda, explain more fully the Buddha's wonderful and marvelous qualities. So here we go. Mindful and fully aware, the Bodhisattva appeared in the two-seater heaven. Right? Now, what he says in every one of these ones, it's always prefaced by, I heard and learnt this from the Blessed One's own lips. Okay? So mindful and fully aware, the Bodhisattva appeared in the two-seater heaven. Now, the Bodhisattva is someone who has made a vow. This is in Theravada Buddhism. The Bodhisattva is somebody who's made a vow to become a fully self-enlightened Buddha. In the Mahayana, the Bodhisattva vow was taken by everybody that they wouldn't enter into final Nibbana until everybody else had made it. So it's a bigger vow. Then he says, mindful and fully aware, the Bodhisattva remained in the two-seater heaven. So that's the heaven. It's a lovely place, and it's where you go before you take your last rebirth and make it to Buddhahood. Mindful and fully aware, the Bodhisattva passed away from the two-seater heaven and descended into his mother's womb. When the Bodhisattva passed away from the two-seater heaven and descended into his mother's womb, then a great immeasurable light, surpassing the splendor of the gods, appeared in the world with its gods and Maras and Brahmas, in this generation with its recluses and Brahmins, with its princes and its people, and even in the abysmal world of interspaces, of vacancy, gloom, and utter darkness. Those abysmal world spaces were filled with this where the moon and sun, mighty and powerful as they are, cannot make their light prevail, there too this great and immeasurable light, surpassing the splendor of the gods, appeared. And the beings born there perceived each other, obviously, first time, and said, so other beings have appeared here. And this 10,000-fold world system shook and quaked and trembled, and there too a great immeasurable light, surpassing the splendor of the gods, appeared. Okay, so that's what happened when the Buddha entered into the womb of his mother. Now, when the Bodhisattva descended into his mother's womb, 4 young deities came to guard him at the 4 quarters. That's north, south, east, and west. So that no humans or non-humans or anyone at all could harm the Bodhisattva and his mother. When the Bodhisattva descended into his mother's womb, she became intrinsically virtuous, refraining from killing living beings, from taking what is not given, from misconduct in sensual pleasures, from false speech, and from wines, liquors, and intoxicants, which are the basis of negligence. Now, you'll notice here, we normally translate karma as sexual misconduct, but actually it has that much wider meaning of sensual. So this was misconduct in sensual pleasures, all the sensual pleasures. When the Bodhisattva descended into his mother's womb, no sensual thought arose in her concerning men, and she was inaccessible to any man having a lustful mind. When the Bodhisattva descended into his mother's womb, she obtained the 5 chords of sensual pleasure and furnished and endowed them. She enjoyed herself with them. So she had a good time. When the Bodhisattva descended into his mother's womb, no kind of affliction arose in her. She was blissful and free from bodily fatigue. She saw the Bodhisattva within her womb with all his limbs, lacking no faculty. Suppose a blue, yellow, red, white, and brown thread were strung through a fine beryl gem of purest water, 8-faceted, well cut, and a man with good sight were to take it in his hand and review it thus. This is a fine beryl gem of purest water, 8-faceted, well cut, and through it is strung a blue, yellow, red, white, and brown thread. Such was the body of the Buddha, perfect. The baby Buddha in the womb. 7 days after the birth of Bodhisattva, his mother died and reappeared in the Tusita heaven. Now, let's have a look. I've got a little note on that, which is worth reading, I think. It's the commentary says, this happened not through a defect in the birth, but through the expiration of her lifespan. In other words, that was how long she was supposed to live. For the place in the womb occupied by the Bodhisattva, like the inner chamber of a stupa or chetya, like a pagoda, is not to be used by others. So the Buddha didn't have any brothers or sisters. It wasn't allowed. So this, of course, is reading back into history. And then, oh yes, where are we now? I've lost the pen. Oh yeah. Other women give birth carrying the child in the womb for 9 or 10 months, but not so the Bodhisattva's mother. The Bodhisattva's mother gave birth after carrying him in a womb for exactly 10 months. Other women give birth seated or lying down, but not as the Buddha's mother, the Bodhisattva's mother. The Bodhisattva's mother gave birth to him standing up. When the Bodhisattva came forth from his mother's womb, first the gods received him, and then human beings. When the Bodhisattva came forth from his mother's womb, he did not touch the earth. The 4 young gods received him and set him before his mother, saying, "Rejoice, O queen, a son of great power has been born to you." Does this remind you of something? I heard and learned from the Blessed One's own lips, when the Bodhisattva came forth from his mother's womb, he came forth unsullied, unsmeared by water or humors or blood or any kind of impurity, clean and unsullied. Supposing there were a gem placed in a kazi cloth. This was beautiful cloth made down in Benares. Then the gem would not smear the cloth or the cloth the gem. Why is that? Because of the purity of both. When the Bodhisattva came forth from his mother's womb, 2 jets of water appeared to pour from the sky, one cool and one warm, for bathing the Bodhisattva and his mother. And as soon as the Bodhisattva was born, he stood firmly upon his feet on the ground. Then he took 7 steps north, and with a white parasol held over him, he surveyed each quarter and uttered the words of a leader of the herd. I am the highest in the world. I am the best in the world. I am the foremost in the world. This is my last birth. Now there is no renewal of becoming for me. So he's just born, he said. Now when the Bodhisattva came forth from the mother's womb, then a great and immeasurable light surpassing, and so we have the usual light going all the way through. Now, so all these are wonderful and marvelous things that Ananda says the Buddha possesses, and he said he's got them from his own lips, you see. But now we find that he seems to have forgotten the most important thing about a Buddha. That being so, Ananda, remember this too as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Tathagata. Hear Ananda for the Tathagata. Remember, that's how he refers to himself, the one who's gone there, the one who's transcended. Hear Ananda for the Tathagata. Feelings are known as they arise, as they are present, as they disappear. Perceptions are known as they arise, as they are present, as they disappear. Thoughts are known as they arise, as they are present, and as they disappear. Remember this too, Ananda, as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Tathagata. So the Buddha, sort of, shall we say, brings it all back to ground level. And of course, Ananda says on his behalf and of all the monks who were there, or whoever was there, this too I shall remember as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. This is what the Venerable Ananda said. The teacher approved. The bhikkhus were satisfied and delighted in the Venerable Ananda's words. So there we have a bit of, what should we say, mythic age. Remember, this is the mythic age. This is the age when the Greeks were still sacrificing to Zeus and all the other gods. And the Romans were there too. So this is the same age, remember, and this new consciousness is rising out of it. It's known as the axial age. There's a very good book written on it. I can't remember the author's name anyway. So we have, remember, Lao Tzu in China, Socrates in Greece, Moses in the desert. Something happens to human consciousness. And you can see that the Buddha really, although these wonderful things have happened, the ground is his moment-to-moment awareness. So I hope you found that somewhat inspirational. Abandoning any hope of becoming a fully self-aware, a fully self-enlightened Buddha is good enough just to become fully awakened, so that we can also say with the Buddha that not a moment passes when I am not aware. I trust that by your constant practice, you will achieve that aim sooner rather than later. So we can do a bit of practice.